is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. The 2021 Royal Rumble is in the books, and we have two pretty decent winners picked out this year. In the case of the Women's Royal Rumble, we have a fantastic choice making her way to the main event of WrestleMania, challenging for the Women's Championship, and in the men's case, was a pretty good choice as well. It's not who we thought was going to make it through the Royal Rumble this year, but this year's Royal Rumble winner still guarantees the WWE is up to their old tricks, because it makes us have an aging veteran / part-timer being put in a situation to challenge for a major championship title, whichever one he decides to choose. You think you know who he is? Stick around and find out, because we are going to talk about that, plus the last man standing match, plus the Women's Championship, and everything else that went down on tonight's edition of the Royal Rumble. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Royal Rumble Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
On this day, I see clearly that Edge has won the 2021 Royal Rumble. Yes, I said that. That is a thing that has happened, and it's not a bad thing by any means. I love Edge. I'm so happy that he has come back and has had a second chance at glory in the WWE. But I really just wish that the WWE would use the Royal Rumble the way it's supposed to be used, and that's to elevate younger talent and establish main events at WrestleMania that really means something. Now, what can Edge possibly do now that he's won the Royal Rumble? Right now, he can challenge Drew McIntyre, who beat Bill Goldberg in less than 3 minutes tonight, thankfully averting disaster and making us not have to repeat what went down last year when Goldberg showed up around WrestleMania season. Drew McIntyre stamping his foot down on the old generation, telling Bill Goldberg to get out of here, with an emphatic victory tonight, which definitely had my heart in my throat on a couple occasions in those 2 to 3 minutes. But now he can choose to fight Drew McIntyre, who was victorious tonight. Or, on the other end of the spectrum, he could shift his focus to SmackDown, a show he's very, very familiar with, and he could challenge Roman Reigns, who also was victorious tonight in a last man standing match that was very, very well done. A very hard fought match by both men. Kevin Owens, even in defeat, is victorious here, because he looked like the beast and superstar that we all know Kevin Owens can be. Roman Reigns continues to be putting on some of the best matches of his career. I loved everything about the last man standing match, from the way it ended, the use of the forklifts and the chairs and going through the tables and fighting off the Thunderdome. I thought the last man standing match really delivered, with the exception of the one tiny, teeny, tiny little section at the end where they got a little bit too creative, a little bit too fancy, and it ended up in a really big botch. You see, Kevin Owens handcuffed Roman Reigns to one of the light fixtures alongside the stage, and he was pinned in a precarious situation where he would not be able to rise to his feet for the count of 10. So it seemed as if Kevin Owens had this match all wrapped up. The first referee, and I say the first because there will be more than one here, gets thrown into another stage fixture off to the side just before he's able to make the 10 count on Roman Reigns. This prompts another referee to come out to start administering the count. Roman Reigns now has Paul Heyman out there with a key trying to unlock the handcuff, and you would think that this would be a 1, 2, 3 thing. He has two places to choose. He has the point of entry where he handcuffed the fixture, and he has the point of entry where it's wrapped around Roman's wrist. But for some reason, Paul Heyman, maybe because he's nervous around handcuffs for whatever reason, or because he sucks at being an executive advisor to the tribal chief, in this moment he couldn't get the handcuffs off. The referee got to about a 6 count and realized, I better stop counting because it's going to ruin everything, and it had to go a little long. It was a little botched at the end, but by the time it was all said and done, Roman Reigns chokes out Kevin Owens, leaves him laying out there dead, and still leaving breadcrumbs so that we can revisit this match on the road to WrestleMania maybe one more time at a future pay-per-view. And it makes sense because Kevin Owens had this match won if not for Roman Reigns cheating and throwing the original referee into the stage and knocking him out cold. Great match, great story. Kevin Owens is fantastic. Roman Reigns is fantastic. Great part of tonight's show. So does Edge decide to challenge Roman Reigns? I would definitely be more into that than Edge versus Drew McIntyre. It would require some moves on the board with the pieces, and being that there's no draft or anything, none of that really matters. As you see, we have the quarterly brand invitational just on SmackDown the other night, and you know, when it's up to you who you're going to choose, it doesn't matter what show you're on. You know, so that's the caveat of winning the Royal Rumble. You could choose whoever you want. So what is Edge going to do after an impressive showing in a Royal Rumble where he came out number 1? And he came out opposite Randy Orton, who has a miracle cream of some sort that cured his skin. Or he got emergency skin grafting over the week, and it didn't require any bandages or anything for him to, you know, any time really for him to heal. He was on Monday night with his face all ketchuped all over it, and it's all red and burny looking, and now here we are Sunday night. He looks fantastic. Looks like $1 million face that you could shoot in Hollywood right now. So I want to know, what's his secret? Where did you get that burn cream? Maybe you should give some to Deadpool so he could fix his face. That's some amazing cream you got there, Randy Orton. That sounds a lot worse than I intended, but you understand what I'm saying. He's got some kind of topical cream that working miracles, because Randy Orton's burnt body, burnt face didn't have a fucking mark on it tonight, as he was number 2 to start off the men's Royal Rumble with Edge. And then they did the thing that they always do in the men's Royal Rumble, or I don't know if they've done it in the women's as of yet, but Randy Orton at some point gets injured and goes to the back. He was never really eliminated from the Royal Rumble, but, you know, he's out for now. And you have Edge go through this whole entire Royal Rumble and thinks that he wins, and then, oh no, Randy Orton's there, and he gives him an RKO, but for some reason, Edge was still able to overpower him and win this match in the end. All of that was fine, I guess, but I think it would have been better with all of the stories that you're trying to tell simultaneously to maybe have had the lights fucking go out and have The Fiend have something to do with Randy Orton's elimination from the Royal Rumble. I understand he's not around now. You know, I understand you didn't have to have The Fiend come back, which you could have. It's the Royal Rumble. Instead of wasting the number on Braun Strowman, you should have had it on The Fiend. You should have never had Randy Orton eliminated. You should have had him and Edge both go from beginning to the end. And then number 30 comes out, The Fiend. He doesn't care about winning the Royal Rumble. He just wants to get Randy Orton. He eliminates Randy Orton and himself, leaving Edge to be the last man in the Royal Rumble. And you can have everything that you got tonight and made it much more interesting, made it make much more sense just by having The Fiend show up. But if you didn't want to do that, all you had to do was your little trickery like you were going to try to do with Alexa Bliss. We'll get to that with the Women's Royal Rumble in a second. But it wouldn't have killed you to do something interesting. Because isn't that the story you're trying to tell? Randy Orton's being shifted back to Edge with no burn scars, and now he's not fighting The Fiend anymore. That's over with now. Is Alexa going to change her target because of what happened tonight in the Royal Rumble? Like, it's a little weird that they didn't do anything like that. Well, thinking about who we're talking about, it's not that weird because they don't know what they're doing. It would have made much more sense to go that route. Instead, Edge just takes Randy Orton, pantses him out of the ring, and the Men's Royal Rumble is over. Some of the big problems with this Men's Royal Rumble, there wasn't really all that many, but I do not like a couple of things. First, I do not like how they used Omos in this Royal Rumble. If he was able to stop AJ Styles from being eliminated, and not only that, if he was able to actually eliminate people from the outside for AJ Styles, why didn't a guy like Ali do that with the rest of his clowns in Retribution? Why didn't Retribution surround the ring and take everybody out? Since you don't have to be in the Royal Rumble to eliminate somebody from the Royal Rumble, that makes Ali look like the stupidest guy ever. AJ Styles was smart enough to figure this out, and Omos was the guy that took out Big E. Now, this leaves a couple of interesting scenarios. One, I wouldn't mind seeing Omos versus Big E in theory. But when you look at how Omos performed tonight, he was almost like watching the Giant Gonzalez out there. I was really getting an El Gigante kind of vibe, a Giant Khali sort of vibe off of the big man. He's got to light a fire under his ass or something, or don't be afraid to hurt these guys. They're professionals. It just wasn't convincing. For a man of his size, it should have came off a lot more intense, a lot more ferocious, but instead it was kind of lame. All of his interactions were somewhat underwhelming, if you ask me. And I thought, it was illegal, but they made sure to tell everybody, well, there's no disqualifications or anything, and anything goes in a Royal Rumble. Well, then why didn't anybody else do anything like this? I understand almost catching AJ, preventing him from falling to the floor and having his feet touch the ground and being eliminated, but why would you be eliminating people just on your own, on a whim? I don't know. I didn't like that aspect of the Royal Rumble. Second, Braun Strowman's return was ruined on SmackDown, and they gave it the number 30 entry, which I thought was really fucking stupid, because everybody looks forward to the number 30. It's supposed to be a real big surprise, but you already let this cat out of the bag just a little less than 48 hours ago. Why wouldn't you have put Braun in right towards the middle or something? Have Braun out there when you got Damian Priest out there and you got Kane out there. But no, you save him for last? For what? For what? There was no surprise to it. In fact, when it comes to the men's side of the equation, there were really no big surprises now that I'm thinking about it. We had the return of Christian. We had Braun Strowman's ruined return. The biggest returns that happened on this night was Carlito, who looked fucking jacked, man. He looked great. And he had a nice little outing tonight in the Royal Rumble. Hopefully it leads to him coming back around, because I wouldn't mind some actual talent. If you're going to keep giving time to guys from the past, you might as well give it to guys that deserved it and never really got there. All right, so we can have a little bit of fun with Carlito, who spits in the face at the people who don't want to be cool. I loved Carlito. It was great to see him back. And then, of course, the Messiah, the Friday Night Man Bun, shows up tonight. It was being talked about all week. If you already knew and it wasn't a surprise for you like myself, then great. We all saw this coming. He came out in his little puffy jacket. He's a dad now. Congratulations, Seth. Good for you for being a dad. Welcome to the Dad Club. He went out there tonight in the Royal Rumble, and the one thing that nobody wanted to see was Seth Rollins eliminate Daniel Bryan from the Royal Rumble. Now, like I said, Edge winning the Royal Rumble is not so much of a bad thing, but I think majority of us were really pulling for this to be Daniel's year. They made him the sentimental favorite. They gave him the storyline of this maybe being his final opportunity to win the one match he's never ever won in his career, and you couldn't even do this for him. You almost took away his WrestleMania moment if not for the whole yes movement really kicking you guys in the ass and putting egg in your face. And now here you are with a prime opportunity to give a little something back to Daniel Bryan, who's come back from career-ending neck injury surgery, and you won't even give him a Royal Rumble victory because your plans revolve around Edge. Okay, fine. But at the very least, you gotta give Daniel Bryan something better to do for WrestleMania. I don't know what that might be here. I was really kind of taken off guard. If it's going to be Daniel Bryan versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, maybe it won't be so bad. As long as Seth Rollins didn't win this Royal Rumble, I'm okay with it at the end of the day. I just don't know what they're going to do going forward. I mean, I had this whole idea of Roman and Daniel. And while that's not necessarily off the table, Daniel Bryan could go on and win the Elimination Chamber for SmackDown if Edge decides to challenge for the Raw title. So it's a little bit confusing and leaves things quite interesting at the moment when it comes to the road to WrestleMania and the men's side of the WWE. What's not as interesting is some of the things we had to see involving the women tonight and not just in the Royal Rumble. At the start of this show, during the kickoff pre-show, we had the Women's Tag Team Championships match take place, which shows you what they think about the women's tag team titles. They don't give a shit. Even though it's on their prized possession, Charlotte Flair, the women still had to be kicked to the pre-show. And honestly, it's good that they did because this show went long as it was. You had 2 full-length Royal Rumbles to get through, which both went about an hour's time. So this wasn't such a bad move. Maybe should have just not have happened at all, but it was the only match on the night where a title changed hands as Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax win back the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. Now, that's not really the story here. The story here, of course, is about Charlotte Flair and her daddy and bam, bam, I'm with Ric Flair now. I wear his robes now. And Charlotte really hates me. Bump, bump, mothballs, Cat Pete, the remix. Alright, so it's not, they're just a prop. The WWE don't care about the belts. They're more interested in telling us this really inappropriate, really ridiculous, out-of-nowhere story of Lacey Evans and Ric Flair versus Charlotte going forward. They cost Charlotte Flair the match tonight. Asuka's no longer a tag team champion because of it. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have the titles back again. They're 2-time champions, and really all of this was unnecessary. But this actually made me quite scared because this took a championship off of the waist of Charlotte Flair, the golden possession of Vince McMahon. So I really thought this set her up to win the Women's Royal Rumble and be in the main event of WrestleMania for the women. Now, if you're watching this and you watch the Royal Rumble, spoiler alert, that didn't happen. Hooray! Let's play some songs. They did the right thing. Charlotte lost. Yeah. I don't mind Charlotte Flair being in the Final Four. I don't mind Charlotte Flair even being in this Royal Rumble at all. Because they did the right thing at the end of the day. And the story of the 2021 Royal Rumble is all about the EST of WWE. And you can't spell WrestleMania without the letters EST, and she proved that tonight as Bianca BelAir put on the Iron Woman performance, set the record for the Women's Royal Rumble, went the distance, and won the Royal Rumble, earning herself an opportunity at the championship of her choosing at WrestleMania this year. And it was not the best match for the women. It didn't start off so bad, but, they have so little talent in the women's division that they brought back women like Jillian Hall, Now, some of you might be going, who the hell is Jillian Hall? Well, there was a phase in the early or maybe mid 2000s where WWE was still in their diva mode and the Boogeyman was around, and Jillian Hall had a gigantic, grotesque, fake as shit growth on her face. It looked like a mini rubber pizza, but they said it was a growth. It was some sort of a cyst or a boil or some sort of disgusting dermatological disaster that was just on the side of her face. And one day, the Boogeyman, who was obsessed with Jillian Hall, bit this disgusting thing right off her cheek. And after he did that, Jillian Hall now became a WWE diva and had like a couple of matches she was in, and her career to me feels like a hiccup. I feel like more than anything she was in like pillow fights and stupid diva related shit. So her coming back here doesn't mean a goddamn thing. It doesn't mean as much as a Victoria coming back. I was very happy to see Victoria here on back in the WWE in a Royal Rumble tonight, much to the same effect as Mickie James. Victoria has a lot to give. She's still very talented, and while there was some kind of botchy spots throughout this Women's Royal Rumble, for the most part, I didn't hate it. Until R-Truth decides to come out. R-Truth decides to show up tonight during the Women's Royal Rumble. He thinks he's in the Women's Royal Rumble. First, he's mad at Bad Bunny, and I'm mad at Bad Bunny for being part of this show. This guy had some sort of a song. He wrote a song about Booker T, and he performed it tonight, but I don't speak Spanish, so I have no fucking clue what this song was about. Plus, no disrespect to anybody, but whatever that was not music to me, and it's just not my cup of tea. If you enjoyed it, good for you. How he's one of the top recording artists on the planet, I don't know. Maybe everybody loves him in Puerto Rico. That's fucking great. That's great. I did not see the reason for him to be here. But R-Truth was pissed at Bad Bunny, but now he gets all mixed up and he goes in to the Women's Royal Rumble. R-Truth wasn't even in the Men's Royal Rumble, so why would he even think that he's in the Women's Royal Rumble? Made no sense. First of all, R-Truth lost his qualifying match, right? So he's not even allowed in the Royal Rumble, but that didn't matter because, by the way, in case you didn't notice, Ricochet was in the Royal Rumble. And didn't he lose his qualifying match to AJ Styles a couple of weeks ago as well? Nice to know that they continue with the great continuity in the WWE. In any case, R-Truth comes out, and this would have been fine if they did it during the men's match. I really wouldn't have gave a shit. It would have been filler. It probably still would have pissed me off because it's around the 24/7 title bullshit. And nobody cares. Like, that title should just be thrown in the trash where it belongs. It offers nothing to this company. It offers nothing to the show. And the only thing it did on the Royal Rumble tonight was bring it down. And it is really the only thing worthy of getting tonight's poop hammer segment of the Royal Rumble. For sure is anything that had to do with the 24/7 championship on this night. It was fucking terrible. Terrible. And it was even more terrible that you did it during the women's match. Fortunately for us, the only person it affected was Alicia Fox. Alicia Fox, for some reason, got involved, ended up being the 24/7 champion for about a minute and a half before being eliminated from the Women's Royal Rumble and getting it back. Alicia Fox has gotten legend status accidentally somehow. I think somebody messed up a spreadsheet in the back when they were putting up the alumni roster or whatever, but she showed up tonight because, there are no females. This was a very weird year for the women in the Royal Rumble. You knew the ones that were going to be in it, and all of those, mystery slots were pretty much filled up by NXT girls, and not very many, but not really anybody else of note. Like I said, with the exception of Victoria. It was just mediocre at best. Until it got down to the end. When finally we had Rhea Ripley Bianca BelAir, Charlotte Flair in this thing. I don't even want to talk to you guys about Lana's involvement. Lana was a big deal return that nobody gave a shit about. Natalya was the number 30 entrant. There was no Ronda Rousey. There was no returning Becky Lynch. There was nothing like that. Nothing really big. Because the big moment came at the end with the winner, which was actually done the right way. Bianca BelAir and Rhea Ripley end up being your final two, with Bianca going on to eliminate Rhea and moving on to WrestleMania. Great women's segment. So where does Bianca BelAir go from here? Does she go to challenge Asuka on Raw? I would be okay with that. Would you? Is Asuka going to make it to WrestleMania as the champion on Raw? That remains to be seen. Or the money match I think everybody wants to see, Bianca BelAir versus Sasha Banks. WrestleMania 37 dream match. You are talking dream match. And when you look at the athleticism and the greatness of Bianca BelAir and how she went, I think it was 56 minutes, 58 minutes in this women's match. Looked like she didn't even break a sweat. After the match, Kayla Braxton, I think, or Charlie Caruso, one of them, I don't remember which one, is in there, interviewing Bianca BelAir, wanting to talk about her victory and her earning her spot at WrestleMania. And Bianca got all choked up, and she was talking to her dad and her mom and her husband. Little shout out to Montez Ford. And it actually got me a little choked up, because this is a very big win for her. This is a very big win for a lot of people tonight. She's the first African-American woman now to have won the Royal Rumble. That's huge. That's huge. That's earth-shatteringly huge. She broke the barrier. If she could do it, anybody could fucking do it now. And it's fantastic. It sucks that we still have to say things like that in the year 2021. But thankfully she did it. Naomi was never able to do it. We never really seen anybody else be able to do it. She made history tonight in more than one way. And on top of that, like we said, she set the Iron Woman record for the match. And now she cemented her spot at WrestleMania. Where she goes, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks. Nobody knows. That remains to be seen. But all in all, the Royal Rumble was not a disappointment, with the exception of the Bad Bunny, performance, which was completely unnecessary. Sasha Banks and Carmella, that was a very standard match between them. Like, I think their other matches that we've seen them have were better. And the involvement of R-Truth's doppelganger, R-False, just is unnecessary to me. Drew McIntyre and Goldberg did what it needed to do. Drew McIntyre stayed the champ, which was fine. Bianca BelAir won the Women's Royal Rumble matchup. We had the Last Man Standing match for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens knocking it down tonight. Oh, and by the way, to show you just how much of a piece of trash the 24/7 title is, it was won also by Peter Rosenberg, as he got to roll up R-Truth in the back when he was arguing about some shit with the Miz and Morrison and, wanting to do something with the Bad Bunny guy. I don't know. All of that stuff made it feel like an episode of Raw, so I kind of just put it out of my brain. As immediately as it went in, I just farted it right out the other side. And then we had the Men's Royal Rumble, which, as we said, was won by Edge, which was not a bad thing. But it was not without its mistakes. Like, why was Dolph Ziggler in it, but Bobby Roode was not? And there were certain eliminations and matchups that happened, which I thought were kind of cool. I don't understand why Ricochet was even in this match. As we said, he was not qualified. He lost to the gatekeeper, AJ Styles. Damian Priest was out there. He looked pretty good. Why did we have Kane in the Royal Rumble tonight? Just so that he could hug Daniel Bryan? I don't know. Dominic Mysterio came out and he was eliminated before his dad came out. I thought that was WWE missing an opportunity for real. Big time. They missed out on having Dominic Mysterio throw out his dad and beginning something interesting there. No, and you didn't have a spot on this Royal Rumble for Keith Lee, but you had a spot for the Hurricane, and you had a spot for Christian, and you had a spot for Baron Constable Dickhead Corbin, but you don't have a spot for Keith Lee, who's been a major centerpiece of WWE TV. Not that they've centerpieced him correctly. They haven't showcased him correctly. Centerpieced him. What the hell? I'm fucking tired today. That's what it is. But, come on. I don't even understand why this guy wasn't in this match. Whatever. There were some cool moments in both Royal Rumbles here, but at the end of the day, it did not disappoint. It did not disappoint. Even with the involvement of Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman at the end, when you look at the final four, Rollins, Strowman, Edge, and Christian, it's a little weird. Like, you know, I don't want to shit on it. I thought it was interesting. Seth Rollins tried to turn to Braun Strowman and ask him for some sort of, like an alignment. You know, let's team up. We're the future, they're the past. We could do this, blah, blah, blah. Before Braun Strowman immediately put him in his place. All of this leading to Randy Orton's appearance, which also led to Edge winning the Royal Rumble. He pointed to the sign like you're always supposed to do. And the road to WrestleMania has begun. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I can't say I didn't enjoy it. I love the Royal Rumble for what it is. So I had a great time just watching the Royal Rumble. It's one of my favorite pay-per-views. It's probably everybody's favorite pay-per-view. The surprises, for the most part, a little bit lackluster. Nothing really to get all crazy about. And we averted disaster. We have Drew McIntyre still the champ. So there's really not too much to complain about. Although there were still a couple of minor things here and there wrong with this show. Thank you guys so much for joining me once again this week for our coverage of the 2021 Royal Rumble. We will be back tomorrow night for Monday Night Raw, and to make sure you don't miss it, just be subscribed to this channel and then hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any time a video just like this or some of the other amazing videos that we do on this channel go live. So, with that in mind, thank you all so very much. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you Sledgeheads out there whose job it is now to hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed your time with us here today. Share this video with anyone that you think might have a good time and want to come along and be part of the Sledgehead Army here with us. And of course, if you haven't by now, just hit that subscribe button and let's get this channel over that 3K hump and then closer and closer to that official marker of 10K that starts opening us up to a whole new world of perks that's going to make this channel grow even bigger, and I owe it to each and every one of you guys. If you missed any of our coverage of the two go-home shows, which were absolutely terrible thanks to the involvement of Monday Night Raw, you can check those out in the annotations up above. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and the road to WrestleMania is underway. That is going to do it. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom. Click.